Hey, shalom, shalom. The title of this show is Trump Tariffs. Trump Tariffs, the straw that broke the camel's back. All right, the Trump tariffs are the straw that broke the camel's back. All right, and if I could fit it in the title, plummeting economy at hand. All right. So with that, I would like to say, Kal Halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rachwa Kodash. Thawada Yahweh for giving us Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who have the 100% spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai in them. Uh, Double honors to the CT bishops, elders of GMS, our big Akim. All right, and greetings and salutations to the Akim in this country and all over the world who are prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, which is none other than the power of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who are descendants from those people on their father's side. Shalom to those who are scattered abroad. I'm Iquab, Lord willing, ushering the King of the Universe, King Yahweh Shai, from the power of Yahweh. All right. Okay, and the title, once again, is called, I have here, Trump Tariffs, all right, is the straw that broke the camel's back, or in this case, America's back. All right, so it's a bit, as you know, obviously a figure of speech, a metaphor for saying that this thing, right, that Trump is doing with the tariffs is very well going to plummet the U.S. economy. All right, and plummet, by the way, means something that goes straight down or decreases in value rapidly. All right, fall or drop straight down at high speed. Um, and again, just these tariffs are going to plummet this economy exponentially fast. All right, and that's the point of the video, which fits in to biblical prophecy, right? Because the main thing, the main two prophecies that we have left is the we're inside of World War III, but really when the whole world knows is when the main character, the main event happens, which is between Russia and America, which the Bible goes into. All right, and in the third World War, the scriptures go into that third woe in the book of Revelation, that war in heaven, right? Like the scriptures talk about, references the all economies, all countries of the world will have their military fight, right, against the Lord's chariots, all right, in His army. So a war in heaven really signifies all nations, right, going against the Most High's coming with against His chariots, which you call so-called UFOs, right? Um, the point is though, is that these tariffs are gonna have a is gonna be, like I said, the straw that broke the camel's back. Um, America's back, and I have this video right here to kind of go into that. All right, so just to get more understanding of the collapse of America, and another thing we always bring out, like we said, the final prophecies coming to pass is World War III, which is going to intensify, right? Where the two major main characters are going to come into play or fight, America and Russia, and they're doing it now through proxy wars. But again, it's going to elevate, right? So the whole world's going to know the two main events are fighting, and then you have the MOTB, right? The mark of the beast, Revelation 13:16, right? Where which is basically a digital device implanted in your body, a biometric device, right? Which works off the body temperature of your body, right? For you, in order for you to be identified and for you to purchase things, right? Buy and sell, rich or poor, um, So the whole world is going to be tried by this and be implemented with a. You're going to have a choice, right? And in this world, if you don't take this willingly, right? The MOTB, you will be exterminated, man. You'll be taken out. All right. But the scriptures say that if you don't take it, then you're definitely going to be saved. All right. If you're a spirit of an Israelite and if you believe, all right, talks about the prophets of the Lord, the ones who believe, are going to be beheaded, right, for their belief and trust in the Lord, right. So again, those two major prophecies are at hand, and again, these tariffs relate to that because these tariffs, like we always say, you know, the New World Order, right, according to the elites, right, America is not a part of that. America's government and their ideology is not a part. It's not. It will not coexist with the New World Order. For the New World Order, the elite banking families to push their New World Order, right? The demonic New World Order, the America economy cannot exist. It has to go down. So that's how we know. You know, if well, basically, if you're in the know, you know that this is, like we always say, this is an implosion. This is an implosion. This is being designed, right? The downfall of America, man. And again, these tariffs, like we always say, Trump, Pastor always says it. He's taking marching orders, man. He has a job to do, which is follow what the elites tell him to do. All presidents follow what the elites tell them to do. They're put in there by the elites, not by your vote. That's another subject. The point is that what he's doing is definitely and in real time breaking down the economy, man. So we're gonna look at this video real quick, and I have a few scriptures to go into that. But real quick, he's about to go into. I don't think people know that there's a baseline tariff that all the countries are having, right? So the baseline tariff is 10%, right, added to what they already have. So, excuse me, a baseline tariff of 10% plus additional tariffs depending on what goods and country you're from. But before I even say that, Salakia, I'm gonna let the pro break it down. But I'm sorry, the thing I want to bring out again is that it's a 10% tariff he's about to bring out here. And also, when tariffs get above 50% for any country, it's impossible basically to do trade. It's very difficult to trade, right? So when tariffs reach over 50%, it's impossible to do trade, you know. So that's what I want to go into, because these tariffs are, for a lot of these countries, over 50%, which means a lot of these nations will make it difficult for them to do business here in America, which Trump is swearing up and down that's going to happen, right? In theory, these tariffs are good, right? In theory, it seems like it works, right? Because tariffs really build money for the domestic country, for that nation, right? But the thing is that a lot of these news outlets are not breaking out that look, the nations already have turned their back on America, man, and it's come to a head where, you know, through the BRICS nations headed by Russia, that they're already turned down the dollar, right? A lot of nations turned down the dollar. They're investing in digital currencies, Bitcoin, right? Petrodollar, right? Other forms of currencies. These nations have agreed to invest in, right, and agree to go into that, venture into that, the digital currency, right? So nobody's doing business with the dollar, man. So that's another thing. All right. So not only nations are dropping the dollar, this, which is already crumbling America's economy, but again, this tariff thing has just speeded up. So let's play. Sorry, 10 minutes of talking. Let's play. This video will be in the description too. This is being pre-recorded. Shalom out there. Comment board. Shalom. So let's get some understanding.
Let's just start. There are two parts to this. Okay, so first of all, there is going to be a 10% baseline tariff. So you see all of these bars go up by 10%, including, of course, the UK. But that, as far as the White House is concerned, is just a baseline. And then on top of that, there are different tariffs for different nations, what they call reciprocal tariffs. And they say they've gone through the numbers. They've looked at not just the tariffs that other countries around the world are charging the US, but also what they call non-tariff barriers, so other things. And they've worked out, by the way, Canada, those Mexico-Canada tariffs might well come back, so we might well start from that position. But reciprocal tariffs might push all of these bars, or will push all of these bars up considerably higher. So just look at how the picture of trade and tariffs in the US has changed dramatically as a result of these measures which are coming in the next few days. And just to give you a few highlights of what we're talking about, so you could look, for instance, over there at China. So China, that's a 34% reciprocal tariff, but it takes the total amount, provided that goes on top of the existing tariff, it takes the total amount up above 50%. And you're talking, you know, when tariffs are going above 50%, that makes any trade very, very difficult and far less likely to happen. So that's...
All right, so that's one point I wanted to bring out that he mentioned. Okay, that again he just said it, when tariffs get above 50%. All right, when tariffs get above 50%, then it makes trade basically impossible. All right, and that's what's happening. He's about to explain, like, a lot of these countries are, if they're not at 50, they're well above 50, right? Which is China and Vietnam. And what another thing is, a lot of products in America, right, that are imported are from China. All right, so that means a lot of things that you see, you could pick up any item, man. You know what I mean? It's made in China. All right, whatever. I don't know. Pick up anything. You get the point. All right, I was gonna pick some, but everything's you know, you already know most of the things that we have in America are made out of China. All right. So that means, if that's the case, a lot of things that you know that are made from China, they won't be coming here anymore, man. Now you do have other items that are tariff free. They're called dynamis or dynamis. I think they're about to go into it. Dynamis, which means small items, you know. But let's continue.
China, but you can probably see here, Vietnam as well. And the point here from the White House has been to say, listen, lots of Chinese goods going into the US, but also going through, being Vietnam and Cambodia as well, being conduits for goods to go to America. And the point here from Donald Trump is that the US wants to reindustrialize. And so it's all about trying to make things domestically, but...
Yeah, reindustrialize, right? I could just show you something real quick, which I showed in the video yesterday. This is basically a part two, a follow-up to what I did 2 days ago. So if you go here, hold on, where is it at? All right, I just had it up. Let me I just had it up here. Okay, was it there? Okay, anyway. So here it is right here, right? The impact of a tariff, what he just said is, let's see what he just said. I believe he went into the retaliation.
Finally, the US wants to reindustrialize. And so it's all about trying to make things domestically, but finally...
Yeah, the US wants to reindustrialize. They want to make things domestically. So like I said, that's a good thing about tariffs, because it encourages, you know, domestic made things, right? Because nothing's coming in from the outside, or it's being made more difficult. So it encourages someone to build more from within. But what did I want to show? To show you that, yeah, right here, right? Reduced trade, right? That's an impact, right? The impact of a tariff. What's the impact? One of them is reduced trade, right? You just seen how, right? The higher percentage the tariff, the less likely other nations will do trade with you, which will force you to make or domestically make whatever you're lacking in trade, right? Which is again in theory good because it creates more work for American citizens, right? So reduced trade. Tariffs can make it less attractive for business to import goods, potentially leading to reduced trade, right? Okay, here's the point. Purpose. What's the purpose of a tariff? Protecting domestic industries, right? By making imported goods more expensive, tariffs can help domestic business compete more effectively. So that was the point I was looking for, right?
Look at the UK, 10% on the UK. And for many people here, obviously, it is a big increase on where things were before, only a few percent, the average rate for the UK. But that goes up to 10%. It is the best rate that anyone has amongst any nations. In fact, the best rate that any G7, any leading economy in the world has, and certainly better than the EU, all of whom are having to pay an extra 20% in total, so 10%, another 10% on top. But even so, all of this will potentially...
So even the European Union, right? The 7 head and 10 horns, like it says in the scriptures, represents the European Union, and in short, the 10 common markets. Really, that's where the EU derives from, the 10 common markets. So anyway, the European Union is basically an updated version of the 10 common markets, right? Because the 10 common markets spread out to 27 nations, but they really derive from the 10 common markets. So the EU, they're going to suffer as well, right? All nations are going to really get and suffer some kind of tax.
Diminish the amount of trade going on around the world and diminish the amount of stuff going into the US. And finally, it's worth just saying, what was the stock market reaction? Well, this decision was made after markets had closed, but we can look at the futures market. This is the NASDAQ futures market, and look at what happened. It went up a little bit after the announcement, and then it's come down quite considerably. So a market reaction there, which implies that when markets open in Asia, and indeed when they were open across the US and Europe, we're going to see some falls to come as people respond to this.
Ed, take a seat. I've got another question for you. There is more coming out of the White House right now, senior White House officials, etc. Trump is to sign an order that closes the de minimis loophole. This is according to an aide. Tell us why that is.
Yeah, de minimis loophole. So they're about to explain, like minor products. We'll see.
Significant, and how it might affect a nation like China, for example.
So this is on top of all of those things we were showing you. De minimis basically means that for really small, kind of low-value items that are going in and out of countries, a lot of that stuff just isn't charged a tariff. So what is a tariff ultimately? It is just, we're going to charge you 20% on everything that comes into the country, although it's the recipient that actually pays it. But for fast fashion, for items that are going in that are relatively cheap, and this is a big thing for China. You've got companies like Shein who are sending stuff relatively cheaply from Guangdong and different parts of China. Right now, that's not subject to any tariffs. Donald Trump said earlier on, so when he had one of his early we're going to impose tariffs on China, he said, we're getting rid of de minimis. But then what happened was that suddenly, in airports around the US, you were seeing massive big piles of goods that no one was quite sure what to do with, because it's an enormous administrative challenge. And I think that, Anna, is the bigger issue here. Raising all of these tariffs, different tariffs on different countries, and a kind of extraordinary smorgasbord of different numbers we've just seen, and Donald Trump, held up this chart of all of the different numbers. It is likely to just increase the amount of work that it takes for America to collect these tariffs. But the point that Donald Trump wants to make, can I show one more chart, like as a bonus thing? But the point that Donald Trump wants to make is that back in a long time ago, the majority of federal revenues came from tariffs. raising money from tariffs, and right now that line is basically down, close to zero, kind of only a few percent. And his point is always, rather than raising money through income tax, couldn't we raise it again through tariffs? And I'll spare you the next charts, but point out that ultimately that is really, really tough to do. It's really tough in the modern world of 2025 when you have, welfare states, when you have Medicare, when you have, standing armies that are quite expensive. You can't just raise all of your money through tariffs. No one has been able to do that. And so that is the challenge that he's faced with right now. But what he wants to do is to be able to say, we're going to try and reindustrialize, hence all of those tariffs on China, on Vietnam, on Cambodia, and we're going to try and raise a bit of money from it in the process. And I think that's the selling point. But what comes next is the retaliation. We start to hear from, Europe, and we know they're going to retaliate. What comes next is more market reaction. And this is going to roll and roll. Even though we've got detail tonight, we're going to be talking about this for many weeks and months to come.
Stretching will not make you flexible, and it will not.
All right.
On where we've come from.
So I'll leave it here. Let me see if I get well. Yeah, so now you understand, a little more about the tariffs. Like I said, you can check out the last show I did. I don't think it didn't get too many views. I don't think maybe nobody really knew about it, but it's called Liberation Day, precursor to World War III. All right, before the world wars, there are trade wars. So I'll go into whole, explain what a tariff is, explain what Liberation Day is, and all that. So you can check that out. This is part 2 of that video. And again, let me see what I want to show. So I'm just gonna close out with some scriptures, all right, and reiterate, all right, that again, that if you're in the know, you already know that that this is an implosion. This is being done by design, and it's also a psyop going on as well, because the whole world is being prepared for a collapse. They're being prepared for higher prices. So when inflation, when the prices rise in all goods, right? You're going to have a reference point to look at. Oh, is the tariffs that Trump did, that now we can't afford anything now. So this is all being laid down. The groundworks are being laid down for blame, because when shit really hits the fan, then they could look back at this tariffs thing and using all that, when really this is all being planned anyway. This is all being planned anyway. That's the real news. And on a higher level, it's the Most High, man. It's the Yahweh Shemai Shai, doing all the works in the world to usher in his son and our king to rule on earth, man. That's what's really going on, all right? Because just like the New World Order can't have America simultaneously ruling, same thing with the true New World Order, which is the New Order theocracy of the nation of Israel through the Most High and his son, all right? Starting with the ones that are going to get saved, the elect, the government body, the administration of Israel, which starts with Yahweh Shai, our leader, our king, Vice President King David, and the rest of the government body, right? So that's the real New World Order, all right? And just like, again, the New World Order is the kingdom of heaven, all right? And nothing else can rule by the Lord's side, all right? So, again, this implosion is being done on purpose, right? And then, like I said, this is a major psyop going on, man. A major psyop going on right now, worldwide. All nation leaders are involved, support the New World Order. All right. So let's get this real quick. This is one scripture I was thinking about. We can get Ecclesiastes. I got 3 real quick. Right. And this is not going to be a long video for me, right? An hour. We'll finish up pretty soon. So this is let's get Ecclesiastes in the Bible, right? We're gonna get 12. All right, we're about to read a prophecy. All right, and we're gonna, let me see, where is it at? I'll start from 1. Right? The points in 4 and 5. 4, really. All right, so let's read this prophecy, what these tariffs are going to do. So this is Sirach, chapter 12, this is Ecclesiastes, right? 12 and 1. It says, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. So again, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, right? While the evil days come not. So what is that saying, right? The Lord saying through the Holy Spirit is that remember we are creatures, aren't we? All right, which are if we are creatures and we label ourselves so, that means we are created. There is no creature without any creator. All right. So us creatures, right? Right. If you acknowledge that, you got to acknowledge your creator. So the Most High, you're supposed to know about the Most High in your youth, when you're young in age, right? When you're strong, because when you're young, right? When you're strong, better to learn something earlier than later, right? Better sooner than later with knowledge, right? You don't want to learn your ABCs at 15 rather than when you're 1-2 years old, right? You don't want to learn to speak English at 20 rather than 1 or 2 years old, right? So it's better to learn things earlier, right, than later, right? Because you can be exercised in what you're learning, right? It's better to become a professional carpenter at a young age, right? Get started young in your trades, 15. Hey, you got people in the trades, I'm in the trades, right? But I had to go to school to learn, right? In my early 30s, right? Right. But when I was going to school, you had people in the trades that learned, that was just there to get a certificate, but was really learning through their parents. Plumbers, when their father owned the plumbing business, so they were always doing stuff with their dad when they were younger. Their father owned the HVAC business, doing HVAC, heating and ventilation, so they were doing heating and ventilation since they were little. You know what I mean? Their father owned a carpentry business. They were doing carpentry with them since they were young, so they already have an advantage. So when they go to school, it's like nothing to them, and they've probably been doing it since they were little. Now they're going to school to get the terminology down, to be one with the terminology. So again, you understand that in this truth, it's better to get this in your youth, right? Better to get it while you're young, because that's when your brain is strong, rather than later in life, right? So remember now they're creating the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. So again, while the evil days come not, you're supposed to get this before the evil days come, right? Because the knowledge of the scriptures, the knowledge of our creator, is to know good from evil, right? Does not the Lord say he created the wicked for the day of evil, right? Did he not say that? Because the coming of he's not here yet, right? But the whole, another part of this is to prepare ourselves before the evil days. So when the Lord comes back, up until the Lord comes back, it's going to be evil, man. Ain't nothing going to be good or holy until he takes his throne on earth. Up until then, it's evil. So we gotta learn this before he gets back. This is what this is about. And most people, there's, like the Lord says, when he comes back on earth, he said he's not going to find any faith on the earth. Nobody's going to believe in the Creator. Nobody's going to believe in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yashai, right? Only is chosen, right? So the Lord's going to come back to a faithless world, right? What was I going to get? Well, I forgot. Anyway, so while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh. Wicked day of evil. Salak. Let me get that real quick. Salakia. All right, Proverbs 16:4. It says, "The Lord, the Most High, all capital letters, the Lord Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, has made all things for Himself." That's right, everything, even time, concepts, truth, lies, everything, tangible, unintangible, everything. All right, the Lord has made all things for Himself. Yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. So yeah, even the wicked, even the things that are so-called bad, the Lord made them. Even the wicked. You have nations or people that embody good and evil, right? You have the nation of Israel, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who descends from those people on their father's side. You are the nation of Israel, right? But we have a physical counterpart. Good has a physical counterpart. God has a physical counterpart. That's the nation of Israel, man. The Most High put His Spirit on His people, right? Starting with the Lord, Yahweh Shai, right? And the physical counterpart of wicked is Esau, right? Ishashua, the one who has no melanin, no skin complexion, right? Who's a race of vitiligo, right? Which is leprosy, which is what we call the so-called white man, right? Blue eyes, that's no pigment. That's a curse, man. All right, not fully developed, right? Blonde hair, that's a curse. And of course, leopard skin, leprosy, vitiligo, right? Like what Michael Jackson had, right? That's a curse. So the physical counterpart of the devil is the nation of Edom, right? Start with the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, right? The rich banking families of Earth, right? So even these days were created and belongs to the Lord. He created this for a purpose, right? So again, so these days that were created, while the evil days come now, you're supposed to get this truth before these days show themselves, man, or even to another, to reach other heights of evil. Nor the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, "I have no pleasure in them." Yeah, so we gotta get this truth and knowledge to know what in the latter days was good and evil, right? To know, like, yo, I have no pleasure. I don't want no pleasure. I'm not taking the mark of the beast, right? I have no pleasure in that because I know my Lord. I know that Yahweh Shemashai is the creator. His laws, statutes sustain life and sustain this world, right? And I know that not only is this truth just makes the world go round, right? Makes everything operational, but on a higher level, we have a greater promise. His people, we have a greater understanding, which he's gonna make us into gods. He's that's the promise. We're gonna govern the world on another level that you can't comprehend, right? Literally living, touchable gods on earth. That's the plan of the Lord, man. And you about to see, all right? So it says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. I'll read that again. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after their rain. All right, meaning that again, get this before the sun goes away, right? Right, get this before the light goes out, right? When the sun goes away, when you turn on the light, you can't see anything, right? So the light, sun, moon, these are all forms of light, right? So you want to see what's in the light before it goes dark. So the evil days represent darkness, right? And we're in that time, man. Anyway, it says, in the day, this is the point, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those look out the windows be darkened. Again, it says, in the day, the point's in 4. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Who are the keepers of the house? Well, the ones who are the CEOs, the ones who own share in businesses, and overall, who are these CEOs? Who owns these companies? Who owns organizations? It all goes back to the small hats, right? They own the diamond district. They own the movie industry. They own the monopoly of money itself, right? They own the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, right? Just like what it says, they own that. So they monitor funds that go to every country. All right. They monitor government agencies. They create them. Anyway, those are the keepers of the house, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, right? And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, right? Strong men, lesser illuminated ones, people who own businesses, you know what I mean? Companies, they're going to fold. They're going to be on their knees bowing down. And the grinders cease. It says grinding represents work when you're on your, as the term goes, when you're on your grind, right? It represents work, right? And the grinders cease because there are few. So what is this? Like I said, Trump tariffs, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? This is the things that's going to hit the economy you can't recover from. It's designed not to do business, right? You had a few things that could have destroyed this. Well, you had the things that this nation has been gradually on a downward spiral. It's been liquidated. It's been for sale. Things have been breaking down and losing. You know what I mean? So this scripture right here, this prophecy is basically an ongoing prophecy. It started a while ago. Really, you can say from '08, you know, really showed itself with the housing market, the housing crash, banks merging, right? Tuition situations going on in the nation, right? But remember, gas was affected. You know what I mean? So the '08 housing crash, and you had other events during the time as well. Can't remember now, but there's other events that happened through the years that could have broke the economy, right? But it never did. But this will definitely, man. All right. So this from here on out until the end of the year, it's definitely not going to be the same, man. The end of the year can very well be, you know, this can lead to the greatest depression ever, the last depression. All right. All right. So it says, and the grinders cease, right? No work, because what's going to happen? A lot of businesses are going to be affected because the cost of things are just going to go up. The cost of certain products are going to go up. You know, certain goods, whether it be steel, wood, or to make cars, or food itself is going to go up. Textiles, clothing is going to go up, right? Things are going to go up for you to operate your business, and most people are not going to be able to afford these things that go to afford to maintain their business. So the grinding is going to cease because there are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. So the windows represents, you know, your future. You know, when you look out the window and you sit there and you're gazing out the window and you're just thinking, you know, that's what that represents. So those who look out that windows be darkened, that represents your future, right? You're gonna see you have no future by how this place is gonna, how unaffordable it's gonna. It's already unaffordable. It's already inflation going on, but it's gonna be we're headed towards a Great Depression, worse than a Great Depression, right? With these latest the latest tariffs that Trump's put into place. Trump's tariffs, right? So people are gonna know that there's no hope for a future, right? It says, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And we thought this was during you know, well, I'll speak for myself, during the lockdown. You know, places were getting boarded up, businesses were closing, banks were merging. The lockdown was another point where, you were saying, this is it. You know what I mean? And it very well, the lockdown played a major part in furthering the collapse of America, man. But this here is, I believe, the straw that broke. Instead of Campbell, we say America's back. You know what I mean? This is it. And it's lining up right with the prophecy of our Lord coming back. Everything's lining up. You know what I mean? All these prophecies are lining up. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Right here, I'm in the boonies, I'm in the woods, right? And in the morning you got a rooster, that roost in the morning, whatever you call that, you know what I mean? And basically the birds represents you waking up in the morning, early morning, right? Some of you may have an alarm clock, and what's the sound? A rooster or something like that, right? Or a bird. So it says, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and on all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So when you get up to go to work, there's not going to be any work over there, right? The daughters of music represents basically, because music brings joy, music brings happiness, and when people are like happy and doing good, they party, and there's no party without no music, right? And so there will be no partying, there will be no celebration, there will be no music playing in these days, man. Okay, just pure anguish and pain and suffering and sorrow and sadness, because nobody's gonna have any money to eat, to make money, to further on their business, to further their business. Why? Because nothing's affordable, man. Right? That's why. The economy's crashing. The economy will crash. Verse 5, it says, also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and the desire shall fail. Yeah, so grasshoppers represents, you have a garden, a farm, and you have grasshoppers. You hear it as your crops are going really good. It's almost time for harvest season. All of a sudden, a good 6-8 months of you doing your thing, and a swarm of locusts come by and eat all your crops. You know what I mean? So that's another thing. All right. Well, also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, right? And the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, right? So you may think that oh, things are working, I'm actually getting my business up. Inflation's going on, but I created something where I'm making money. You might have pockets of people making money and benefiting from people's sufferings, like when one person doesn't have it and somebody else does, right? But at the end of the day, what you make from people's sufferings, for example, everybody needs to wear a mask, right? You may have somebody, when the lockdown happened, you may have somebody who has a mask for you to wear in those days, right? He's gonna make money. But even with the money that he makes, it's still gonna be, he may be robbed, he may lose it, he may have to pay something to get something else that he's lacking. So all across the board, everybody's gonna be affected. It says the desire shall fail. So everybody's desire is gonna fail, right? You're gonna see no hope. There will be no hope, and you're gonna see it. There's no hope, right? Because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Yeah, because at the end of the day, what's this going to lead to? Your mourning, your sadness, your anguish, your pain. It says, or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken out at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. So yeah, when you have a water fountain, and you have a fountain coming out the water, which shows you they had the technology back then to even make this. Why would they even say that's? Well, that was King Solomon, who wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. They had the technology back then. So a fountain that brings forth water, right? Aqueducts, whatever have you. It's now no more water, no more, right? That civil cord, right? Being always benefiting, right? No more benefits, no more. Section 8 food stamps, right? All these grants, right? A lot of these grants, no more. The golden bowl, no more golden egg, no more golden bowl. All right. The wheel broken, the wheel system, the wheel's not turning no more. All right. Everything's ran out. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto the Most High who gave it. So you see, that represents death. From what's going to happen now is going to be a lot of death. That's going to be aftermath. A lot of people are going to die. This will bring martial law. This will bring civil unrest, chaos, right? A lot of things are going to be affected, man. And main thing is food And when people don't have food, people lose their minds. So this is going to trickle down to all out, chaos in America, man. All out desperation, you know what I mean? And people losing their minds, losing their wits, right? All right, so then shall the dust return. Yeah, so you're going to be basically just going to bring it down to the grave. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher, all is vanity. That's right. So let's get another one. Babylon. This is Jeremiah. Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51 and 8, right? We'll see from 1. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind, nuclear fire, right? Nuclear power, right? And will send unto Babylon fanners, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So what is that? That it's prophesied that Babylon, which means confusion, right, is the land of America, right? Because this is the only nation in the world. Why is it confused? Because you can worship, any. There's no absolutes here. You can be a man, you can be a woman, you can do whatever you want. You can be totally liberated, right? But yeah, you can be totally free, right? There's nothing you can't do, right? Which is basically Satanism. You know, there are things you can't do. All right. Anyway, in Babylon, you can do whatever. You can have sex with animals. You can marry a train station. You can call yourself a cat. You can whatever, man. So this is why this is Babylon. This place is going to be destroyed by fire. Then shall they, it says, and will send unto her Babylon fanners. The fanners represents basically the other nations, right? Shooting off missiles on America as well. Because the majority of missiles is going to be coming from America. But these other missiles, right, going to be coming from other nations. So they say Babylon fanners, which represents when you have a fire, right, you have to keep that fire going, you have to have a fan, right? You have to have air. Oxygen makes fire go, right? So who's going to be the oxygen? Who's going to be the fan to keep that fire going? The other nations, right? The other nations are going to let off their missiles and keep that fire going, that destruction going, right? And shall empty her land, you see? America, Babylon, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So that's happening now with J.D. Vance. I reported that in February 14th. You could just look at it. I believe that's when really Revelation 17 and 16 went to another level. All right, where all these nations, well, with J.D. Vance, when he went over there in Munich, Europe, and basically insulted the European Union in their own land, in their face. All right, and belittled their economy. And said that, yeah, your problem is you have a problem from within. All right, that was an insult, and they're doubling down. You know, Canada, they say Canada should be a state. They're willingly, openly say they're going to take Greenland. You know what I mean? And all these nations are the bullseyes. Yo, what's up with these people, man? America, why are they talking so proudly? So all the nations are taking it, paying attention, and seeing the proudness of America, man. And these tariffs are another example of the pride of America, right? Because while they're doing it, they're belittling other nations, right? Trump said European Union, they're not good to us. We're not going to be good to them. So look, this is happening in real time. That the fanners of which other nations, you can see why they're gonna blow. They're gonna shoot off their missiles too, because they realize they're the problem. So this is happening now. From the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So there's nations against America as we speak. You guys, I believe France, the Prime Minister McCray, whatever his name is, I think he cut ties with America, right? Canada cut ties with America. It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. And against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Thus, okay, well, I think that was the point I wanted. So that talks about America, man. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that thrust through in her streets. And the Chaldeans represents the warlocks, the witches, the familiar spirits, right? That were the so-called leaders of spiritual leaders of that nation, right? Like for instance, you have damn, I always forget the in America, or right now you have the Jesuit priest, the Jesuits, right? The Jesuits really are the ones that, you know, they're the Illuminati, they're the illuminated ones, you know, illuminated ones, which are the fakinati, you know, they're the ones that you know, govern organizations by witchcraft. You know, they put satanic symbolism in their logos, in their food products symbolism. They pray over their satanic businesses, and these, you know, like the quote goes by Confucius. He says something like that signs and symbols really rule the world, not governments. Sign and symbols really rule the world, right? Okay, so that was that. Let's get another one. Last one, Isaiah 24:11. Oh, Isaiah 24, Salak. I'm going to read real fast, start from the top. It says, Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. That's right, and that's what that's where we're coming into, man. You know, he's going to scatter it, right, by fire, by nuclear fire. The Lord says, and it shall come, and it shall be as the people, so with the priest, as with the servant. Excuse me. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with their mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury of him. Right? The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord has spoken this word. Right? Meaning that everybody gonna get it. Right? You just heard it. As with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with his master. As with the mistress, so with the maid. As with the buyer, so with the seller. So no matter what part you play in life, whatever your position in is life, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a worker, doesn't matter. You're all gonna go down, man. You're all gonna be spoiled and empty. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Right? Let's look what languish means again. Languish, haughty people means proud. Languish in the Hebrew is amal, which means feeble and weak. To be weak, to droop, to languish, to be exhausted. Yeah. So you can be weak, you can be exhausted. You're going to be tired of being tired. You're going to give up. A primitive root, to droop, by implication to be sick. All right, be weak, feeble. To hang down the head. Yeah, right there. That's a perfect one. So utterly depressed, man. All right, so basically be exhausted, have to hang down. All right, exacerbated or exhausted. All right. So yeah. So the whole earth, the people of the haughty people of the earth do language. You're gonna have your head down, depressed. The earth also is defiled and the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. Right, and new wine. Where was the point? 11. A new wine mourneth. The vine languisheth. All the merry-hearted do sigh. It says, the mirth of tabrets ceaseth. The noise of them that rejoice endeth. The joy of her harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Right? No mirth. It says, the city of confusion is broken down. Right? Babylon, you see? Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. No work, you see? Shutdown, lockdowns, a martial law. There is a crying for wine in the streets, for knowledge. Wine represents knowledge. Wine represents understanding. There's going to be a cry for people to understand what the hell's going on. But only the elect will know, right? All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. So we're coming into times of a great depression. And really the whole world is about to see a great depression. And really, from these Trump tariffs, man, these Trump tariffs are going to affect the whole world. But mostly the land of America, man. It says, in this city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. That's right, the gate represents your leadership. This place is going to be done with, man. No leaders, you have no answers, just languish, suicidal mentality, utter anguish and pain that this world has never seen before. Right? You think you were depressed during the Great Depression or whatever? What we're coming to now, we're coming into the most a dystopian future, man. I've done a show on that. I believe, I did a show on that. I believe there's going to be it's going to be a dystopian state, right, before the Lord comes back, and this can very well bring it in, man. A dystopian society, right? All right. So with that, I'll just leave it at that. Again, I believe the Trump tariffs are the straw that broke the camel's back, or America's back, right? It's already in a downward spiral, but if I could fit it in the title, this will plummet the economy. This will plummet America's economy. And a plummet means basically falling straight down to high speeds, man. Rapidly decreasing in value. Rapidly. And as you see through the news, it's happening, man. This place is going down quickly. All right? And, which is all biblical prophecy. So, right, so if you believe in the Most High, this is a beautiful thing. This is a good thing. Right? The downfall of America, man. The downfall of Babylon, right? Babylon is fallen, right? Hey, it's finally happening, man. So we know the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We know Yahweh Shai is at hand. We know Yahweh by Shema Shai is working. This is the proof. But only the elect will be able to understand the work of the Lord, man. This is the work of the Lord that's going on, man. So beautiful, man. So I pray you edified. All praise to Yahweh by Shema Shai for what he's doing, right? Fulfilling his word and his prophecies, man, and letting us see, the elect. Oh man, what's the scripture say? If I could find it. Letting us see the downfall of this society, right? Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if it's something. Okay, Ecclesiastes 25:7. I'll finish on that. Ecclesiastes, Sirach 25:7. So at the water, Yahweh Shemai Shai for letting us see this. Ecclesiastes, Sirach 25 and Apocrypha 25 and 7. It reads, there be 9 things which I have judged, right, in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. So look, this is, if you believe in Yahweh Shemai Shai, we know that the enemy of the Most High is the friendship of the world, right? In Book of James, the enemy of the Lord is the friendship of the world, right? And who represents this world in its purest form is America, man, and the European nations, right? And it's a beautiful thing, if you believe in the Most High, to see our enemies go down, right? Because the ultimate enemy of anything is the enemy or the opposite of the Most High. So, right, does not the scripture say, don't I hate them, O Lord, that hate you? King David said that. This world hates the Most High. These world governments hate the Most High. They don't acknowledge him. Why? Because they've been identified as the nation of Edom, the wicked, right? And that's the nation of Edom are the enemy of Yahweh Shemai Shai by far. They're completely opposite of righteousness, right? And guess what? Our people are part of that too. The 2/3 of our people, you're going to be in the kingdom, but you're going to be destroyed on this side because you joined hand with the devil, especially you, the women of Israel, headed by the so-called black woman. You're co-conspirator to evil, to Esau, and to his kingdom, right? And a lot of you women are too. You're naturally just lacking, all right, spiritually. But anyway, with that, I'll say Kal Halal, Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Rakwa Kodesh, the Wada Yahweh Forgiveness, Yahweh, and shalom to you brothers in this country and all over the world, prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh. Shalom.